Welcome to X-Girls, where we answer your questions about the impact of the sex industry and life after sex work. My name is Ashley Abercrombie, and I'm your host for today. I'm here with Harmony Dest, founder of Treasures, an outreach and support group to women in the sex industry based in the San Fernando Valley of LA. We also have Crissy Moran, who works at Treasures as one of the peer mentors. And finally, we have Bronwen and I, founder of Hope Foundation in Australia, an outreach to women in prostitution. What's great about these episodes is that we're actually answering your questions from women's perspective who are in the industry. Harmony is an ex-stripper, Crissy is an ex-porn star, and Bronwen is an ex-prostitute. And together, they are the X-Girls. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about getting out and staying out of the industry. So ladies, a lot of women watching this episode might be contemplating leaving the industry. So we want to hear from you three about how you got out and how you stayed out. So was there a moment when you said, you know, this is enough, I got to get out? And can you tell us about that moment?
I definitely remember my mum showing up at the illegal brothel that I worked in. I was dressed ready to go to work, and I opened the door and it was my mum, and the last person on the planet that I was expecting. And I remember she walked in, I offered to make her a cup of tea like everything was normal, and it wasn't normal. I wasn't normal. I hadn't seen her for a year and a half. I was wearing a really short skirt and my boobs were hanging out, you know? And it was just like, hey mum, hi. And she thought that I was using marijuana, didn't know I was using $1,000 worth of heroin a day and having to do the work to get the money to get the drugs. And I remember her sitting there looking me in the eye and saying to me, who are you? And really challenging right then in that moment the core of who I was. And it made me question my identity. When she left, it was kind of like this voice stalked me in my head. And every time I'd look in the mirror, which was really only to do my makeup to go to work or take it off, and I could hear my mum say, who are you? And I started to churn it over until one day I literally packed a bag, ran away with enough heroin for a day, and just never went back.
Yeah. Where did you go, Bronwen, when you left?
Yeah.
Where did you go?
I went to live with a friend who was a heroin addict, thinking it was a better option than the brothel. And it was for a season. 4 days after I'd stopped the industry and the money ran out and the drugs ran out, I thought to myself, this is painful. The guilt and the shame started to come in as the drugs went out, and I tried to commit suicide, injected $600 worth of heroin in one go. And I remember waking up after 2 hours thinking, now I'm such a loser, I can't even kill myself properly. And for me, that began the journey. You know, I was on heroin for 6 years. That began a journey of, if I'm not going to go back to the industry, which was the vow that I'd made to myself, then I need to find other ways to pay for these drugs. And I went back to crime and, you know, just thinking to myself, well, it's not my body, you know, I'm not sleeping with strangers for money. And I didn't realize the pain that I had on the inside of me. I just thought it was my body, not realizing the soul and the heart pain that I've discovered over the last 15 years.
I can say I had a moment, and I was driving to work that day and just praying that I would find a way out. And I remember getting on stage and feeling naked for the first time. I wanted to cover myself, which was very unusual because I was like, I come from like hippie household, we're always naked. So the fact that I felt uncomfortable naked was really weird. And I tried to shake it off, and I went out onto the floor to just start like trying to hustle and make money. And I was just about to offer this man a table dance, and his back was to me, so he didn't see me. And the song Purple Rain came on, and that's the song that I had auditioned to 3 years prior. And I just had this moment where I was like, oh my gosh, I thought I was gonna do this for like a month or two, and here I am 3 years later. Now my boyfriend, not only am I giving my boyfriend all my money, but my friend at the club, he's pimping her too, and sleeping with her, and sleeping with this girl, and got this girl pregnant, and like, my life was just getting worse. And I just had this moment where I felt like I looked around the club and I saw it for the first time. Even though I had been there, I felt like I saw it. And I knew I had to go. I walked directly up to my manager and I was like, I'm leaving. And he was like, oh, you know, you need a night off? Because I was one of the top money makers in the club, and I never saw women leave the industry, and they certainly didn't leave when they were top money maker, you know? And he was like, couldn't wrap his mind around it. I was like, no, I'm not coming back. I can't do this. And I went to the dressing room and I started selling my clothes that night, and I left. I just knew I couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't do it one more time. I couldn't do it.
Wow.
When I left, it was because I was like a serial dater, and I lived with many different guys while in the 6 years that I was in the industry. And pretty much all of them controlled my money and controlled me, and I was an isolator. And during those 6 years, there was multiple times where I wanted to get out, but I didn't know how. And I would ask them, you know, could we do some kind of business together, you know, and nobody really wanted me to get out. And I guess the thing, before I got out of the industry, I was dating the last guy I dated in the industry, and he went to a strip club, and it like broke my heart because I wasn't working with men. So I didn't think it was right for him to be lusting after women, even though that was kind of twisted logic. But that's when I went to where he was filming, and I just, there was 2 days in between, and I prayed to God to send me a sign. And when I went out there, like the guys were on the set were getting photos on their phone and passing them around. And I was like, who was that? And I asked my boyfriend, and he said, oh, that's so-and-so's wife, and she's topless. And when he said that, I felt so disrespected as a woman sitting there. And I said, if I were married, I would hope that my husband wouldn't be showing pictures of me nude. Even though I know it's out there, I would still knew that I should have respect, you know. And right after I said that, the guy sitting to my left, he spoke up in front of the group. And I can't believe I said this in front of the group because I was very shy. But the guy sitting next to me said, I wouldn't show anybody that. That would be just for me. You know, and I was like, whoa, like, who is this guy? Like, that's the most respectful thing I've ever heard. So after that, I ended up talking to him when my boyfriend was filming, and that's when he asked me what I did, and I admitted after he asked me a few questions that I did porn. And from that point, he asked me, did I believe in God? And I said, yeah. And he asked me, did I want to accept him back in my heart? And I said, yeah. We went outside and prayed, and I accepted him back in my heart, and I quit the business at that moment. Never took another penny from any residual income.
Wow, it's incredible stories. So coming up, we're actually going to find out what our panelists had to walk away from to leave the sex industry.